Hi, my name is Jen Potter, and I am the host of Networking Now. We are an amazing show that talks about all different things with networking and more. Today, I have two great guests. I have Jen Hopson as well as Kenny Ingersoll. And today, we're going to talk a little bit about marketing, branding, and leadership skills. So, I want to introduce my first guest, Jennifer Hopson. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here again.
Absolutely. So you've been on the show several times, and I love it because we have a great friendship and a working relationship. And every time we talk, we always bring something new to the table. And, when we were looking at the show notes, I was like, ooh, this is something else that I would love to talk about, right? Because it just happens that the universe brings these things in. So if you want to just introduce yourself again to our audience so they know who you are, and we'll dive right in.
Absolutely. So, as you mentioned, I'm Jennifer Hopson. I'm the owner and CEO of Shine Up Coaching. The three pillars of what we coach on are health and wellness, mindset, and business. And I think these topics that you're bringing up today work right into what we do on a daily. I've been really introduced to business for the first time was 7 years ago through network marketing, which I'm still a part of, and love that style of company, that model. And what's great about that is it taught me a lot about how to be a good leader and good coach. A lot of my 9 to 5s taught me about the things I didn't want to be doing as a leader and a coach. And so here we are now, full swing, and I'm excited to talk about these things with you.
Isn't it amazing? That's something that I say when I worked in my corporate job, the things that I want to do different when I have my own business. That's what I always come back to. What could I have done different? What could have been done in this instant? I've had some amazing bosses, but I've also had some bosses that have taught me some amazing things, all the things I don't want to do in business. So we that's something that I definitely reference, and you mentioned it, and I'd love to hear more about that. What are some things that, you have made, have done in the past that you would love to do different or you are doing differently in order to, you know,
For sure.
teach others?
Yeah, so
Words
I
on
would say, you have those two main buckets, right? You have the people that you really connect with and they become your mentors. And then you have the people where you're like, you know what, this is not a positive situation. So what can I take away from and learn from it? I was really lucky early on in my retail career. I had a great boss that came in like right at the beginning of my time in store retail and corporate retail. And the things that he did differently, first of all, one of the things is speaking and active, like listening to hear is how I want to say that, is actually listening to hear versus just listening to pass on information and kind of just listening to be there. That was one of the main things that I felt that he did differently is he listened to me to truly hear what it is that I had to say. He gave me opportunity to show what I was capable of, which not everybody gives you that, right? They decide what your capabilities are before you're even able to show them. So that was really big, and I learned a lot from him. He also celebrated me when I did do something well. I think so many times, not just in business and work, we're so focused on the negative that that's where we spend a lot of our time. So that was really my first experience with my really first mentor in business. And then there was quite a quite a line of people that I learned things from. And the biggest one was, you know what, I'm not going to ask you to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself or I haven't tried myself. The other one is I'm not going to talk negatively around people or just in general. I'm not going to bring that negative energy into our workspace. I think that's super important. There's plenty of things that you can complain about in life. Don't bring that into the space where you're trying to grow and encourage and really lead people from the front. And then the last one is making sure like the negative and gossip around other people inevitably, even if you don't think it's having any effect, right? You don't literally talk to that person about this one, but it's one person. It will trickle down and it will change the energy and the environment of any kind of business leadership team that you have.
It's true, right? And I feel like that's always that number one thing when it comes to, with the workplace, no matter where you work, whether you own your own business or whether or not you work with another company, that whole thought process of talking negatively about somebody else in front of a business partner or a colleague or an employee or employer. And it can have such a negative effect on your work experience. You can have a really great job, but if gossip is the talk, that makes it really tough. And not just in your regular workplace, but like in networking groups too, right? For me, if I don't like somebody, I'm just not going to talk to them or talk about them. I have no reason anytime anybody ever says anything negative about somebody else, I always try to see the positive. They're like, such and such does this. I'm like, but they also do this. And, they're not here to defend themselves. So we shouldn't be talking about this. So for me, I try to always like stop it before it starts. And, for me, a lot of my employees or people that I hire, we talked about this early, they're younger, right? So I'm trying to teach them from a very early age that, the gossip in the workplace is something we definitely shouldn't be doing because it becomes so toxic and it makes it really, really difficult to work somewhere. And, the second thing that you said was kind of leaving stuff at the door. Right. So that negative talk is part of it. We could have a really tough day at home. We could have a really great day at home. But when you get to the workplace, leaving it at the door. And that's something I always heard from when we were younger. As we've gotten older, I feel like a lot of people have kind of, got away from that and they do integrate their work like with their family life. And I understand I have to do that sometimes too. We all do, right? Especially working moms, that sometimes we have to take our kiddos with us. And so it's hard to not mix some of those things. But at the same time, if you are able to leave any of those negative emotions at the door, you're able to focus, like you said, grow and learn and want to be there. It makes it really difficult when you bring all of that negative energy. And a lot of that, you know, a lot of it has to do with like what you said, negative energy bringing positive things together. And we're both super positive people. Someone yesterday, they're like, you're kind of borderline toxic positivity. I said, because I will make any negative a positive. I'm like, throw something at me, and I don't think it's toxic. I actually think it's a way to trick my mind that anytime there's a negative situation, something positive will always come out of it. And I try to teach my younger leaders that there is going to be something negative that happened. This was key for today. Earlier today, right before I got on this call, I had an employee get yelled at by someone and they were upset. And I said, well, what did you learn? What did you learn from that? How did you respond? And he was like, I was super kind. I heard her. I said, I understood. I apologized. And I'm like, that's what you should be doing. Like, not saying that they're right, but at the same time, also acknowledging that you have to hold space for people sometimes, and that can be really difficult in a working environment when negative things happen.
Well, I
So
just
do
think
you have, oh yeah,
people
go ahead.
need I think people need to approach it also as this idea of there's negative energy, but also learning how to ask your team for support when you need it. Even leaders need to ask and show that they need support in different ways. And that sometimes comes in the form of delegation, sometimes in form of now I'm going to teach you how to do this thing that I've always done. And I think that's really important. It's not just anything I need help is, that's also the negative bucket. That's not true. If I'm having a rough day, maybe at home, maybe I'm not going to come in and complain about it, but I'm going to come in and say, hey, my energy is really low today. This is what I need from you. Can you offer that level of support? And that's where it changes from negative environment, I just give you my problem, to coming in, creating a team that also, when they need support, they know they can come to the leader.
I really like that, and that's really important to know, right? That was something that was really difficult for me. I'm a person who delegates, and as soon as you said that, I'm like, oh, I'm so guilty, because if something doesn't get done, I'm like, I'm going to do it myself. And what I had to teach myself over the years as I continued to be a leader, it's always a learning process from us. We need to be reminded by other amazing people such as yourself that when you say it's okay to ask for help, right? It is okay to ask for help. I tell people to ask for help all the time, but I'm the last person to ask for help. And just recently, someone said something to me and they're like, just say thank you. And I stopped dead in my tracks and I was like, thank you. And it was that reminder, it's okay to ask for help. And to continue to hear it, I feel like that's been like the topic of the week, because if we can take help, just like you said, the younger leaders are also going to know that they can do that they can ask for that. And that also ties into what you said at the beginning, like, because I'm working a little bit backwards with what you were talking about, but you won't ask somebody to do something unless it's something that you will do yourself. And that alone is key. Anything, like, as the person who owns and runs a business, we have to do everything. And so we get so accustomed to doing it all ourselves that goes into not asking for help, which is why we always want to do it ourselves. But just truly saying, I'm willing to do this too. I own a cleaning company. When I started that cleaning company, I kid around with people all the time. I'm like, the first place I would go when I would work with a team is the bathroom. And everyone would look at me and be like, why do you go to the bathroom to clean it first? Because my employees know that I will clean the dirtiest room in the house myself to show you that I am willing to work just as hard as you, that I am willing to, start at the places that need to get done, and not from a place of like, look, I can do this, but from a place of, I respect you and I can do what you do. And I think that's so important to always remind them that you're willing to do those things, because if you're telling someone to do something and you won't do it yourself, that's not being a leader.
Yeah.
That's just like giving a responsibility to somebody, and I don't think that that's ever fair. So I really like that. And so, are there anything, with this topic, anything else that you could think of that you really want to, add to it when it comes to the leadership skills, and something to kind of tell our audience that they can learn from?
Well, and I think one of the other things, it's not just the idea of I'm going to do these things because I'm going to ask you in the future, but it's also the idea of teaching people what it takes to be successful. Some people aren't successful because they don't know what it requires. So if they can be part of that building experience, even if it's learning how to put a business together with, scotch tape and $1,000, like they need to know what it takes. And then on the other side, the one really, really big thing that I have learned from a very powerful leader is building vision with yourself and your team and being really clear on describing what it is you're trying to accomplish together.
Oh, I really like that. That was a really great way to end this part of the segment. So that was awesome. This was a great conversation. As always, it always goes by super fast because we're already at our first commercial. So stick around. We have some more stuff to talk about after the break.